This is not going to be a depressing video. I guarantee it. It's an empowering video. Uh, it's a very important video or podcast, however you're listening, that I think will be very beneficial for a lot of people, for everyone listening to this. We as humans have like an inbuilt or an ingrained conditioning to try to avoid discomfort and pain or sickness. And if we get sick, we think we did something wrong. Oh, there's something wrong with my body. Something wrong with my body. I did something wrong because I got sick. So I'm just going to pose another alternative perspective to that. What if anything that happens to you or in your life is a step up on the kind of progress, evolutionary path that everything is taking you forward? Even sickness. I got a cold, I caught corona. I don't know, I broke my leg. I was in a car accident. I got cancer. It's all progress. It's all helping you to evolve deeper, further. And I mean fucking everything. Absolutely everything. Water fucking tight. It does challenge me when people, I know you're nodding and agreeing. Oh, yes, 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 yes. And in 2 days, yeah, maybe you'll break your leg. Maybe you'll get corona. Maybe your kid gets sick and you think, oh, fuck, I did something wrong. So this is the unlearning of all the nonsense that we have ingrained in us, that we've inherited from the family line and the Western world and modern science, which is now a clown show at the moment. But so I'm going to give you some examples. It's all helping to take layers off us. I'll give you some examples. So let's say you're in a relationship and the relationship ends and your heart is broken to a degree, or let's say you end the relationship. There's still a degree of grief. So it opens your heart to a degree. There's layers taken off you. There's growth. This is beneficial. Let's say you lose a job. And you're just called into the office and they say, I'm sorry, we can't keep you, or for whatever reason, got to let you go. You think, fuck. Like there's a degree of rejection in that. There's a degree of pain. And there's the worry of how do I survive and so on. So these are pockets that are shown to you, that are already within you, that you have inherited and you have accumulated over your own lifetimes. They're not something that just popped up. Oh, it just dropped out of the air, this feeling of worry or fear or rejection. No, it's in your being. It's part of human consciousness. It's part of the ether. It's part of consciousness. It's in your blood flow and your DNA. It's part of you. And this opportunity is to show you that, to integrate it. Okay, so these are the interactions and the emotional day-to-day that present pain or grief or whatever it may be to us. Now, physical illness shows us pockets that the emotional stuff can't access. So physical illness is fucking, in my experience, highly beneficial. Over the last few months, I started with, I didn't do this consciously or intentionally. A few months ago, I got an ear and sinus infection. And I was told, you can't go out in the sun. I'm fucking in Mexico, in Acapulco, and I couldn't go in the sea. There's a swimming pool here in the complex. I couldn't go in the pool. And I was kind of just restricted indoors. If I went for groceries, went out, I had to go in the evening or in the morning. And that lasted. It really dragged on. And I was on antibiotics for that. And then as I was recovering, I contracted COVID. So I got very sick with that, lost a lot of weight, and you know the story. That was a brutal journey. And then as I recovered from that, I got what's called colitis, which is basically the digestive system. It's kind of gut bacteria. In my opinion, I'm not a doctor, but it was basically the bacteria from my gut was destroyed from the medication from COVID and antibiotics and that kind of thing. So basically I was eating food, stomach didn't know what to do with it. So, I touched in a previous video upon, one night of having COVID and my girlfriend being very sick. about 20 minutes away from me. I didn't have a contact number for her family. And she was barely, like she wasn't responding to my messages quickly. And she was having trouble breathing. And basically I thought she was dying. And I thought, I can't get to her. I was in bed in bits and I couldn't contact her family. I had no number for anybody. And I just thought there is a possibility that she's actually just going to die in her bed, in her apartment on her own. And her kids were actually upstairs with her sister in another apartment. And I thought they're just not going to know what's happening here. And that in itself, the powerless of that broke me. It showed me our vulnerability, or my vulnerability. And there's some things in life that you can get involved in and try and manage, but ultimately, like as I'm going to move into in the coming months gradually in videos, but my work is about stepping away from the I. Gavin, I don't know who Gavin is, and in a sense I don't have much interest in Gavin. That I is persona. It's the ego. It's something that I have accumulated and built, and it's not really me. So we're moving back into like the observer, like who's observing this, as opposed to all this noise of I'm wearing a shirt and this is how I work and this is where I come from and I like biscuits. That's a persona. It's not a real person. What is a real person? All these kinds of questions. But it broke away defenses that the day-to-day life wasn't getting to. Now, I had an awareness. We all have awareness that we have walls up at times, but just because you have a wall, like it's my work encapsulated. Just because something information-wise doesn't mean you can access it, and it doesn't mean you can break it down. The ego is not going to go, I've got this big wall of arrogance and anger. Think I'm going to break it down today. I'm going to work through it and feel it and let it go. The ego is not going to do that. The ego is restrictive, defensive. And I've been through enough therapy and energy sessions and even medicine sessions just to see how medicine or something can get into that place, because it's Fort Knox. We hold on to these things until they're stripped away from us. So, that night with COVID was brutal, and it while I was, in pieces that night, I knew instinctively, and I know it might sound strange to say this, but I knew in those moments, this is highly purposeful. This is perfect. As brutal as it was, I knew this is taking layers off me. I need this. This is healthy. I knew, because, and that's not just some fucking insight or indulgent thing. It's from living in the car. It's from having layers taken off me before and seeing a pattern of like, yeah, I know that feels painful. Ego doesn't like it, but it's highly purposeful and beneficial, and I'm going to go with it. So after COVID, when I got colitis, I had a couple of nights and I remember one night in particular that around, most of the time I'd feel normal. I'd eat food. I wouldn't know what was reacted. There'd be no reaction. 2:00 in the morning, I woke up, and I mean, the pressure in my stomach was something else. And long story, gruesome and detailed, I ended up vomiting for about an hour, and then I had diarrhea for an hour. And then, just as a gift from the gods, my higher self thought, I'm going to be good to you now. I had vomiting and diarrhea at the same time for an hour. So 3 hours of that. And same thing, like during that experience, I didn't know if I was going to die, because towards the end of it, I couldn't sit up. I couldn't hold myself up. I was drenched in sweat. And I think I was freezing cold at the same time. And I could barely lift my head to vomit. And then I'd run in, like while I'm vomiting, I know I'm about to shit myself. So I've got to run into the vomiting completes. Now, towards the end of this, a lot of it was purging. There was nothing left in me, but it was like groaning. Oh, it was the depths of hell was just being released. So same thing. Now, I'm hoping that none of you need to go. I don't think most people need to go to these depths. I'm grateful I did. So in that experience, I knew this is a purge. This is a release. This is taking more. I'll tell you two things. It's about clearing my lower chakras, which I don't know how to do. I'm not a wizard. So is it wizards who work with lower chakras? I don't know. I don't know how to do. So it was clearing the energy and the bacteria and all the stuff that's recorded in our gut. You know, old viruses, old food, bacteria from food, all that shit's recorded. And I know this because I've began to ferment kefir milk or kefir milk. And when you begin drinking kefir milk, it can make people sick. It's called a health crisis. It didn't make me sick because I had already been through the sickness, but it can clear out bacteria and viruses that are in there and have been there maybe for a long, long time. So, and kefir milk or kefir milk basically rebuilds the probiotics and rebuilds the stomach or that area to digest food and so on. So I knew that that sickness was a purge. It was clearing a lot of stuff out of me, both physically and energetically, but also emotionally. It broke me down again, you know, not knowing what's wrong with me, not knowing do I have cancer as a stomach, like all that stuff had to come up and had to be faced. And believe me, you know, in a Zoom session or in a meditation, when we can sit and drop into the body and witness ourselves and feel what's passing through, you know, as I've said in many videos before, that it's very easy to do this, you know, in the ashram or in the mountaintops, like, oh, I can be still and peaceful. But try being peaceful when you've fucking 3 screaming kids, you know, or your landlord wants the rent, or you're having to leave your girlfriend because she asked you to fucking leave and you're going to have to move into your 20-year-old Volkswagen Polo. So they're the tests. Or when you're draped out on your bed, dripping with sweat and vomiting in a basin. And that was the challenge in those times. I was constantly trying to bring myself back to being present with this experience, you know, because we are just an observer. We are consciousness observing these experiences. And if we don't choose to observe them, we choose to turn on Netflix for distractions or whatever it may be, or open fucking Facebook. We're not integrating. We're not banking that experience that we've contracted in. So to wrap up, you know, a physical sickness or suffering, it shows us things, it reveals us things, it releases things, highly purposeful and beneficial. So just the thought is that the next time you're sick, try and see the possibility that maybe this is teaching you something, maybe this is releasing something, maybe this is opening you up, maybe this is allowing you to blossom, to be more grounded, be freer. I'm going to read you a quote from The Red Line by Maria Zeppes, and it's on page 110. Sages and philosophers all knock on the door of death because they can sense that the solution of every mystery, freedom, and resurrection are all found behind it. We knock on the door of death. Life is about death and rebirth. By the laws of alchemy, something has to die and decay before it can rise. To sum up, transmutation on the physical plane is a converse motion to begetting and birth. We have to encounter death. So see these things, try to see these things, anything challenging or brutal, as like, oh, this is an opportunity this is, my higher self is taking me somewhere. This is a journey. To try not to close up and be restrictive of the sickness or of the challenge or of the Zoom on Sunday session or whatever it is. No, I don't want to do that. Try to be open and go with it. You're being taken somewhere. Let's see where it takes us. Thanks for listening. I hope to see you Sunday, because I know some of you really want to be there and you're being called to do this work. And if this video was of use to you, there's a link below. You can buy me a coffee. You can buy me 1,000 coffees if you want. And I greatly appreciate it. Be well.